Today, we have a reading about a specific energy that came up during my channeling. This reading is about a person stuck in a lot of the collective energy. This is a type of thing I try not to overemphasize or manufacture in my readings since it's always kind of there persistently in the background. There's always a love or a stuck energy of some kind that's separate from the collective. But today, the energy was strong enough to create a reading. So that's what I'm doing. As always, check in with yourself and ensure you're in a place of control to hear these messages and do not allow them to have control over you. I'll share some video links to check out in the description if you don't feel in control, as well as all the planetary positionings, resources, and cards that I pull here today. I pulled the Oracle Deep Knowing, and the Four of Pentacles came out with a few planetary aspects. The general energy check today is that something or someone is resisting letting go. This could be both parties of the connection, but I do sense there is a side of it that has a strong resistance to moving on and moving forward. This could show up as the person isn't exploring outside as much, and they're very internal at this time. They aren't interested in making new memories, having new experiences. This could also be your energy right now. Generally, I don't see much of a desire to experience new things. As a result, I'm kind of seeing whoever this is, there is a slowness happening with their time recollection. Our brains kind of require new things and new experiences to perceive time in a normal or slower pace, but I sense this person or you is kind of in this state where time is slipping away so quickly because the lack of new experiences and because there's no desire for newness at this time. And that's creating a slower time draw. With the moon square aspects here, they're kind of telling me there's a feeling of a weight of loss, regret over emotional walls or distance that's created with this person specifically. I almost get that there's a sense that too much time has passed and now there isn't an easy way to recover the connection as it once was. The weight of these feelings are strong, like they're pulling at you and you're feeling it intuitively. Your body almost has reacted in this like fight or flight when these feelings come on, when the weight of this person tugs at you. There's like an anticipation of returning of some kind that you feel on your end. I just sense that your body feels highly attuned. It has spent a lot of its life in hypervigilance. And so you pick up on these energetic changes so effortlessly. And your body is like kind of preparing preemptively. And it's just used to doing that. You could often wonder why you keep thinking a person is going to return to you and doesn't. But I see it's because of this hypervigilance that you carry. Like you almost have a trauma-like response, but not in a bad sense. It's like your body is just protecting you and it has this gift of keeping you safe. So it picks up on when this person is deep in their feelings and it prepares in anticipation in your own body. I get the sense that you've kind of held a lot of emotional weight. And that's why this person is struggling to hold it alone now, is you're receiving these energetic transfers because they don't know how to hold that weight themselves. And so unconsciously, they're still bypassing it to you. It seems the theme of unequal distribution of emotional weight is important, particularly in a subconscious state. Okay, this is really interesting. Bear with me here. I might have to explain a lot here, so stay even if it feels a little bit boring and detailed. I'm kind of being shown sleep paralysis as something important here to explain this energetic inequality that I was talking about, where you hold more weight. Sleep is essentially when spiritual immunity is at its lowest and when someone's emotional body is unbalanced. So on a spiritual level, sleep paralysis might happen when you are more susceptible to energetic entities that are holding you. We enter a space when we sleep where we can't move and are more vulnerable or prone to entities finding us in the astral realm that we can't really see. Bear with me here. I know. So, what I'm being guided to explain to you is people who suffer from paralysis or irregular patterns of sleep are actually being warned that they are exposing themselves to these entities. This isn't scary, though. I don't want this to be like provoking any fear. If you suffer from this, they cannot hurt you or do any damage. This is just similar to the body explaining that things through pain or sickness is we only stop and listen when something dramatic enough happens and stops us. So that's what this is. It's just on a spiritual level. It's explaining an imbalance within that person. So the vulnerabilities to these entities happens when we are deeply bypassing our spiritual health. That's what causes these sleep distortions, let's call them. This means that the person experiencing this is not practicing emotional safety. They're outsourcing their suffering to distraction, or they're generally just ignoring themselves in some critical way. So self-awareness is key to spiritual health. And usually those who suffer are kind of refusing to look at pain at themselves in the way that they need to. I sense that those listening to me are very spiritually attuned. However, I sense there's not a lot of distraction here, and there's a lot of spiritual strength. Now, where this relates back to the sleep paralysis that I was being shown, the subconscious state of yours is where you've held a lot of protection for this person and where that came into play on a level you couldn't see. Your natural alignment in strength in spirituality kind of like acted as a field stabilizer for this person. You weren't conscious of this because your energy was cleaner, but it left less entry points for interference on their end. It seems even if this person doesn't struggle with sleep paralysis or any sleep things that you can see, there were some vulnerabilities at play that you helped dissolve in some way. It's like entities seem to gravitate towards weakness of this person in their sleep states, as where you protected them without realizing on an unconscious level, I believe. This didn't do anything harmful to you. I don't want you to hear that. I just sense that your presence in the connection created this automatic defense because these entities were kind of repelled away by your strength in some way. And now what's happening is this person is struggling, not with those entities like necessarily attacking them, but they're now holding the weight without you on both a physical and spiritual level. This might not correlate with the spiritual protection you provided, but the vulnerability they have now without you is kind of like draining them in ways that's requiring them to make changes to something in their life. In dreams and subconscious states, cords between people can strengthen or loosen. So the protection you were offering here could be seen as a cord acting like a shield. And now without it, they're more exposed to interference or their own unprocessed energy. This doesn't mean someone's attacking them and they're, getting hurt. It just means they're now holding weight on a spiritual level that they weren't before. I think without realizing it, your presence in their life has kind of like hindered them in some way in the past, like your full presence, like enabling the behavior to not be aware on the level they needed to be because you were protecting and shielding them, and they had no real consequences for their lack of spiritual health and hygiene. So this doesn't have to be a bad thing. I see this being very good, especially now with the natural course that this connection has come to with the contact dissolving in the physical. I see this also being a positive for you, like the defense that you gave to this person in the subconscious realm wasn't necessarily draining you, but it was somewhat misdirecting a lot of your power that should be directed within. So I don't see like damage, but I do see you have a lot more reserves now that are building within you, and they'll eventually be able to be directed in more aligned ways. It kind of just, it wasn't like hindering necessarily. It kind of was just like a misfire of energy. Like you had just so much and it just wasn't being properly channeled because, especially in a subconscious sense where you don't really have very much control over it, there was just almost too much light. But now I see that it's being channeled correctly. So the message here seems to be a positive for both parties, even though it kind of seems like weirdly abstractly scary. It's really not. There was an unconscious misbalance here that is correcting itself in ways you cannot see, but you might be feeling very deeply. This also seems highly connected to the distance at this time between both energies. Like I sense this redirection of your power, your energy is rebalancing inward, and you're able to like focus on ways you haven't in yourself before. I also see this person as now being able to shift into a space where they must hold more awareness. This is causing an imbalance on their part in their life because they are struggling to hold that balance and they are just learning to do so now. So I don't see this ability to call in new energies or old energies is like possible for them right now. I don't see them being able to reconnect with you or anybody at this time. This is very much like the natural progression of their healing. They need to be vulnerable in this unconscious space to hold that weight. So it feels very much like all the focus now needs to be learning on their part how to hold what you have always